How do you go from that feeling of always pursuing a woman, always being the one chasing after her, to have the upper hand and control where she's obsessed with you? Hi, I'm Bobby Rio, and I've been coaching men in dating and attraction for over 15 years now. And one of the most common questions I get is this: how do I get a girl to really like me, like actually fall in love with me? Not she likes me or she's settling for me, but she's chasing me. She wants a future with me and she's making it crystal clear. And I get it, that's the holy grail, right? Now, most guys don't understand the process a woman needs to go through to get to that point. So here's what I want you to do right now. I want us to do it together. As you're watching this video, here's what I want. I want us to reverse engineer the entire process of falling in love. Instead of asking how to make her fall in love with you, let's look at what actually causes that to happen in the first place. Because when you break it down and you understand how someone actually falls in love, the whole thing becomes a lot more predictable. And it's a lot easier to wrap your brain around what you need to do. You stop guessing and you start to instinctively know what the next steps are. What do you have to do to move her from sort of into you to chasing you, or to get her in love with you? So I want us to do this, and I want to do this that you really fell for a girl. I'm talking about that feeling where you suddenly catch yourself obsessed, where you realize, damn, I think I'm in love with this girl. You got feelings, you can't shake her from your mind. Maybe you got a woman and you're in this headspace right now. Well, what was the moment you knew? When were you like, oh shit, I got some serious feelings for this girl. I'm falling for her. When did that feeling first hit you? Think about it. When did you know? Because for most people, men and women, it's when you can't stop thinking about them. When you realize I'm thinking about her a lot, maybe I'm thinking about her too much. I'm not paying attention to other women anymore. She's all I'm thinking about. When she starts to invade your thoughts, when you bring her up in random conversations, you're telling your friends about her, you're checking your phone constantly, hoping for a message, you keep finding your way back to her profile, scrolling or rewatching her stories, or like even going back to her old photos to learn more about her, which is dangerous because you don't want to accidentally like one of her like 5-year-old photos, because then she knows exactly what was happening. But you know, I've seen this play out 1,000 times with coaching clients. A guy will show up on a session or he'll come to one of my live programs, and it's always the same thing. He's always there for the same reason. There's one woman he can't stop thinking about. She's in his head all day long. A lot of times he's in what I call emotional quicksand. Maybe you've been there, where you're just consumed by thoughts of her and you're like, you can't even concentrate on anything else in your life. And you feel this like urgency to do something, to make something happen. It's just almost this all-consuming kind of mental thing. We call it emotional quicksand because it's almost like you're sinking and you're trying to claw your way back up. And I get it, I've been there many times. Sometimes it's love, sometimes it's just infatuation, but either way, it feels real. It feels different, it's intense. She gets under your skin and her name just slips into conversations, even when it makes zero sense. I remember once I was crossing Fifth Avenue in New York, and I ended up talking to some random old lady as we're walking across the street, and somehow I brought up this girl that I was into, and I wind up asking the old lady for advice on my situation. And I've seen friends do this, where they're like literally in Whole Foods talking to a stranger in line about the woman that they're after, and it's like your whole world starts revolving around her. And that's when you know, right? That's when you know. A lot of guys don't realize the first ingredient of love, the thing that moves you from interest, attraction into love and obsession, it isn't a romantic dinner. It's not the sunset kiss at the, it's none of that. It's not the violin playing, thing that we think of when we think of that moment you realize you're in love. Really, the first ingredient of love is this, and I'm gonna write it down. It's psychic tension. I call it romantic tension, but it's a tension in your mind. So I call it romantic tension, but it's a tension of your mind. And this is something that most guys completely overlook, but it's absolutely critical. So romantic tension, psychic tension, what it is that mental pressure she feels when she can't stop thinking about you. It's that loop playing in her head, replaying conversations, analyzing your texts, wondering what you meant, trying to figure out. It builds to the point where the only relief is to see you again. We've all been there. We've had that mental loop playing where we're just like, I need to see her. Well, that's when you know you've got a hold of her, when she's feeling that, when she's got that mental loop, when she's talking about you, overthinking everything, maybe even Googling, what does it mean when he said this, or posting in some forum like, he texted me this, what do I do? That's psychic tension. That's romantic tension. And it's the first real spark that makes love even possible. If she's not feeling that, she'll never fall in love with you, no matter how much you have in common or how great of a guy she thinks you are. Now, here's the kicker, and honestly, it's the kick in the balls that most guys never see coming. Most guys do everything in their power to relieve that tension in her mind. They kill it before it ever has a chance to build. Why? Because as men, our instinct is to provide certainty. We think she needs to know how I feel. She needs to know that this is real. I'm legit. I'm serious. I got to lay my cards on the table for her so she knows how serious I am about her. So we do things like make ourselves super available. When she asks to hang out, we're scared to say no because even if we're busy, we think it might make her question things. Oh, maybe he's not that into me. Oh, I'm gonna go find somebody else. But we feel like we have to text her back immediately or she's gonna doubt us. We even hold back our own opinions. Like if she says something we disagree with, we stay quiet or just nod along like a bobblehead doll because we're afraid that she'll lose interest if there's any friction there. But here's the truth, that doubt is what fuels the romantic tension. It's that uncertainty that gives her something to think about. That's what keeps you in her head. When you eliminate all the doubt, when you eliminate all the uncertainty, all the anticipation, and all of the tension, well, guess what? Guess what else you remove? You remove her ability to fall in love with you. And that's when you get the I just don't feel it speech or the you're really great, but I'd rather just be friends. And here's a writer-downer. If you can get a girl thinking about you when you're not around, you can make her fall in love with you. Seriously, that's the key. Most guys don't get this, but love, infatuation, obsession, it doesn't happen when you're with her. It happens when you're not with her. It happens when she's alone. You fall in love with someone when you're alone thinking about them. It's the space between the interactions, between your meetups with her. That's when her feelings start to build. That's when she's replaying the moments. That's when she's filling in the blanks, projecting an image of who you might be and how you'll fit into her life. That's where obsession takes hold. That's where it begins to grow. Think about it. How many times have you met a woman and you were kind of like neutral about her at first? Like, yeah, she's cool, she's all right. But then something happened. Maybe she pulls back, maybe she goes longer than normal before she responds to one of your messages, or she does something that stirs some jealousy in you, or says something intriguing sometimes, or just there's some uncertainty that enters the picture unexpectedly. And all of a sudden, you can't stop thinking about her. I've seen this happen with myself and I see it happen with clients where a girl goes from like being background noise to taking up 90% of your mental real estate, and it happens super fast. And once that happens, you're already halfway to being in love. You can probably remember a woman where you've been in that situation with. I've had clients who hire me there and they're like, yeah, I was dating this girl and I wasn't that into her, but then all of a sudden I was obsessed with her. And it happens fast. But here's the mistake guys make. They think love is built through convincing moments. I'll take her to a fancy dinner. I'll say the right thing. I'll get a thoughtful gift to show her how much I care. But love doesn't happen during the dates. It happens later when she's lying in bed, replaying the conversation, wondering what you meant, anticipating your next move, even a little scared that you might not feel the same way. But again, here's the problem. Most nice guys don't give her anything to replay in her mind. They give her certainty, clarity. They give her all the answers right up front. So she goes home after the date, and yeah, it was nice. She had a good time, sure. She even found you attractive. But there's no tension. There's no questions left. There's no spark that lingers in her mind. So then some other guy comes along, and he's a little mysterious. He's a little unpredictable, and suddenly he's got her attention, and you're sitting there wondering what went wrong. You probably had this happen where you go on a date, it feels amazing, she's laughing at your jokes, she's making plans to hang out with you, and you're thinking, this is it, she has to feel it too. But then you text her, a day goes by, 2 days go by, and that sinking feeling hits where you're like, what the hell happened? Here's what happened. She had nothing to think about. You gave her the whole movie. She knew the ending, she knew how it was gonna go, and when someone knows exactly what's gonna happen next, there's no reason to keep watching. back when I started dating, I started noticing a really weird pattern. And maybe you've noticed this pattern too, that the women I didn't really like, the ones I wasn't trying to impress, they were the ones who seemed to fall for me. They'd chase me, text me nonstop, they'd want to see me again. But the ones I really liked, the ones that I was genuinely excited about, those are the ones who pulled away, who ghosted me, who suddenly got busy. And I couldn't figure it out at first. I'd go home after those dates thinking, man, I nailed it, right? I did everything. I was funny, I was smooth, I was present, I was vulnerable, all the things that women say they want. But then I'd text her the next day and crickets, total silence. Meanwhile, the girls that I wasn't into, I'd show up more relaxed, I'd tease them, I'd challenge them a little. I wasn't filtering myself. I didn't care if I disagreed with them. I wasn't trying to prove I was a good guy. In fact, sometimes I'd almost hold back trying to impress them because I didn't want to send the wrong message. And interestingly enough, these would be the girls who were chasing me. And that's when it hit me. I was acting completely different. When I didn't care about the outcome, I wasn't trying to micromanage her feelings. I wasn't trying to eliminate her doubt. I wasn't trying to ease all the tension. But when I did care, I was performing, I was over-investing, I was trying to manage her perception of me instead of letting things unfold naturally. And that's the shift that made the difference. Now, you may have heard me mention something called the Scrambler. I talk about it in a lot of my videos. If you followed my stuff, you know I talk about it in my videos. But let me give you a little background on how it all came together. Because a few years back, Rob Judge and I, we were teaching guys and we hit a breaking point. At that time, both of us were coaching full-time. Rob had clients flying into Arizona where he lives and just paying him insane amounts of money to go out to bars and clubs with him for the weekend. And these were guys were pulling girls home the same night. Girls they never thought that they had a shot with. And me, I was helping guys crush it with flirting and banter and conversation. That was sort of my strong point. But we both noticed something strange. The moment a guy met a woman he really liked, everything would fall apart. It was like all his skills vanished. And we knew something deeper was going on. So we sat down and we reverse engineered it, the entire thing. Starting with one core truth, kind of like we did today. Love happens when she's thinking about you when you're not around. So the real question became not, how do I make her laugh more? Or how do I, flirt better? The real question when you're into a woman is, how do you get a woman obsessively thinking about you when you're not there? That's what we built the Scrambler around. We discovered a handful of what we call attention weapons. These are strategic little moves, little psychological time bombs that you plant when you're with her. Moves that quietly take up space in her mind and keep pulling her back to you, whether she's at work or she's out with her friends one night or even when she's lying in bed at night. Now, some people hear this and say, well, isn't that manipulative? But let's be real. Buying a woman flowers or taking her to a 5-star dinner is just as calculated. I've had guys say, I don't want to play games, and then tell me how they bought this girl that they've been dating for 2 weeks, a super expensive pair of earrings. And I'm like, that's just as manipulative. What I'm telling you to do actually works, right? The difference is that this stuff, the stuff that we teach, works. The stuff in this seminar, the Scrambler Seminar, it works because it plays the game in her mind that she's already wired to play. She's not wired to respond to gifts and overly flattering compliments. She's wired to respond to romantic tension. So if you want to see how this actually works, how to move a woman through all 5 steps of the chase, how to leave those mental breadcrumbs that pull her back to you again and again, I invite you to check out the Scrambler Seminar. Now, guys paid $1,500 to be there live in person, but if you click the link below, you can get access to the entire thing inside our Untamed Man community, because at the end of the day, this is the golden rule. If you can make her think about you when you're not around, you can make her fall in love with you. So check it out. Check out the seminar. We lay it all out there for you. And if you already messed up with a woman, we show you exactly how to turn things around and reignite these feelings in her. We even teach a 9-word text sequence that brings her back and has her think it's her idea to pursue you again. Now, all of this is laid out in the course, and unlike the guys who paid thousands of dollars to be there in person, you can get access inside our new community for a fraction of that. And you have us there with you, answering your questions, sort of helping you out, holding your hand through the entire thing. So click the link below in the description to get access. And as always, if you found this video insightful, if it opened up a new way of thinking about things, leave us a comment below, hit the like button, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future videos.